It's your boy J.H. Gibbons here.
And I'm Will C.
And welcome to yet another episode of the Achromous podcast, episode 83. 83 episodes in and another 83 to go. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for joining us today. If you are joining us on any of those podcasts that you actually listen to, whether it's Google, Apple, any of those, Spotify included, we want to thank you for joining us. If you are watching our beautiful smiling faces today, it can only mean one thing. It means you're watching us from YouTube. And here's what I need you to do in order to help us out, to help us grow, to help us share these gems with the world. I need to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. So the next time you are on YouTube and you are scrolling down that feed, episode 83 will be the very first video you see. And most of all, we'll see.
It is free to do so.
Unbelievable.
This is our 83rd time mentioning this. And I haven't lost the beat in saying it and enjoy doing it and reminding Jay and reminding our longtime viewers and newcomers to you. We have 83 reasons why you should go back, check out what we've have delivered, the gems we've dropped, and life experiences that we've shared, not just with us, but the stories of others as well. So please, if you're really a supporter of what we're doing and you're about growth and about self-development, this is the place to be. So the way that you can do that is by liking our content, sharing our content, subscribing to it, turning on that notification bell so you be the first one, as Jay mentioned, to get it because it's free to do so. You're investing into you, so why not?
It's unbelievable. I still can't believe we're doing that without a cost. What a week it has been. We'll see yet another week, episode 82. Last week, if you did not get a chance, you can pause this, watch that, come back, let us know your thoughts. But we really attacked the fitness industry, specifically the fitness influencers. The reason why we did that was because we're all about honesty. We're all about transparency. We're all about truthfulness. And the fact that a lot of people in the industry are not doing that, I think it's strictly because of what social media has done with our society now. It is a true shame, but I can tell you, we'll see, I was at the gym and a lot of other people were. And the beautiful thing I saw this past week working out, as I typically do, was there weren't as many phones as there used to be. And if there were phones, it was people recording actual exercises, actual workouts that you can do. So again, I think the rise of authentic content, real content, honesty, relatability, I think that is making a comeback. Slowly but surely, it is making a comeback. So I was glad to really see that. We'll see. And I hope to see more of it, man.
Yeah, that sounds promising. I've been avoiding going to the gym, as you can tell in our stories and my stories if you check them out. Yeah, before that reason, because it's not authentic enough to like really be around folks that are really, really like-minded, that's really trying to get at it, get after it, and understand why they are there outside of maybe a few light contents, like or just these gimmicks that we discussed, for like lifting chairs and couches over your head in the middle of sets. Yeah, this is not what it's about. That's not how you get yourself in the shape you need to be. And your purpose shouldn't be that. I hope not. But yes, it's reassuring to hear that that's the case. I'm hoping that trend continues. So people are kind of waking up to kind of understand the importance of that and knowing that you really have to love what you do, investing into you, and cut out all the other mumbo jumbo and just enjoy the journey of it.
Absolutely. We'll see. And I think you said it best. I think in this world, look, life is short. It's unpredictable. And I think it's very important that in this life, you spend a majority of your life doing what you love, doing what you enjoy, even if it comes with sacrifices, even if it comes with certain things that you'll have to change forever, certain habits you may have to get rid of. It is required in order to live a purposeful life. And our next guest this evening has done that. From her journey from overseas over here to building a life for herself, becoming the CEO of her company, becoming the doctor, having a doctorate degree that she's been able to earn. We have the pleasure this evening of speaking with none other than Dr. Sandra Lepinski. Welcome to the Achromous podcast, and thank you for joining us today.
Oh, hello, everyone. Hi, how are you? I cannot seem to get the video back, so we'll wait until it comes back on its own before, I can get on with the video, so we can continue and I can talk to you this way.
That's absolutely fine. Welcome to the Achromous podcast. I know we connected a few weeks ago to get you on because not only myself or my business partner, but our community wanted to hear about your story. I've heard rumblings from my own father about some of the things that you've been able to build throughout your life, and you as well. So I would love to make sure that we share this with the world in order to inspire others to follow in your footsteps or become inspired with some of the things that you've done. So of course, in the Achromous podcast, we always say we love to begin with the beginning. So let's start there. In terms of how you were able to come here from where you were born and begin this life of helping and giving back to your community, could you explain how you were able to get that far?
Okay, I came from Guyana with my mom and sisters. Went to an all-girls school when I was in Guyana. So coming to Washington is where we moved to a co-ed school was a traumatic for me. But I took everything in stride because with the family foundation, anything that's put before me, I know I can handle it. Even if I have to change my thoughts, my ideas, the way I think about things, I know I can handle anything that's put before me. So with that in mind, I went to school in DC. Again, I said to a co-ed school and spent 3 years there at a 4-year school. While I was there, heavy accent, people couldn't quite understand what I was saying. I had a very deep British accent also. And like anywhere else, when you go to a different country, you hang with people that sound like you, that have the same dreams like you. So that's what I did. And the first year, pretty much, I didn't go to class. My biology teacher, my science teacher, because she taught me biology and chemistry, and my math teacher had us in groups where we didn't attend regular classes. We pretty much had our own little group. And what we did was she had us do projects. So we really didn't attend class. And my math teacher had me start correcting in his office, correcting papers, like quizzes and tests that people took. So I rarely, for my 3 years, I didn't attend class. It was like that all through my high school years. And my math teacher in spare time taught me how to play the stock market at that time. And I wasn't really interested, but I said, I'll learn because I'm always open to learning different things. And I never turned that down when it comes to learning. So fast forward, moved to Washington, moved to Maryland, went to college, got a scholarship. A little before that, the year that I graduated high school, I don't know if you remember or know of, what's his name, the mayor. He was known as the Black people mayor, Mayor Barry.
Mary Berry. Yeah.
Right. And he was giving all the children like that just got out of high school jobs. So my first job was working at Walter Reed Army Medical. And I was doing, working with heart, working with experimenting on different things regarding medical science. But as a child, there we go. Perfect. As a child, I always had the idea of when I grow up, I want to work in a medical field. But as a pathologist, as a person who do forensic, working with dad, trying to find out what happened why this person died. And as I started college in the Maryland area, I entered into pre-med and continue. And I got married during that time and had kids. So that had to go into the background for a while. Fast forward, I got a job working with Department of Navy, DOD. And while I was doing that, I was going to school and raising two daughters, my two daughters. So it was tough. I went to school in the evening, work during the day, 40 hours, and kept going. Got my degree, first undergrad in biochemistry. What happened after that? I may skip, but the journey is, got my degree. During the time, it wasn't a lot of jobs for people with a biochemistry. I was not exposed to that, was not interested. After a while, I worked as a lab technician, analyzed blood specimens, pretty much all that. And then I saw the computer came into being, and that interests me. So I started doing homeschooling, taking classes to learn how to work the computer because it had just started. So I bought a computer, didn't know how to turn it on, didn't know how to work it at all. But I got a computer, I said, I'm gonna learn. And I started opening up the CPU. At that time, they had the big tower, start opening that, looking at it, try to see how it worked, start working with that. They were doing binary, so I had to learn how to do binary and a whole lot of stuff. So while working at the Department of Defense in the military, my boss pulled me out of the lab and chose me to work on the computer, setting up database for the military who at the time was having issues with HIV and AIDS. So I set up the database for the Tri-City, which is Army, Navy, Air Force, and work with the CDC to send them information database as to who was positive, who was negative, when they converted, are they children? So I was doing the research part of that. So that's another chapter in my life. So I went from working in the lab, doing research, working on a computer, knowing nothing about a computer. So pretty much as I went through life, I was self-teaching. So anything I wanted to do, I started learning on my own. I got the books or got on the computer when the computer came live, and I was doing that. So as I continue, I was not satisfied with that. And I wanted to make more money. So I started doing real estate. I took the real estate exam, I took the classes,
Wow.
but I didn't want to work for someone. So I started invested in home on my own, buying houses and renting. And it started building like that. Any questions so far? Do you want me to stop? Do you want me to continue going?
No, keep going. Keep going. We're really
Okay.
intrigued by your story.
Yeah, very, very fascinating. Yeah, absolutely.
So I did that. And at that time, I moved to Chicago, Illinois, and continued doing the real estate because it was lucrative. And I really, at that point, did not want to work for anybody else. So I started doing the real estate. I went back to school, to grad school, got my degree in forensic psychology, work with children who were abused by their parents or by siblings. So I would go to court and be an advocate for them. And I followed them through their lives until they were out of the court. So there was another chapter in my life that I went into. But while I was in grad school, one of my professors says, what you should do is, since you're in real estate, why don't you buy homes? And people that are men, especially that are coming out of jail, have them, have a home where they could go to. And I said, I really don't want to do that. But she kept coming to me. So I guess unconsciously, subconsciously got into my mind, and I put it in the background. So when I was able to buy more houses and decide to leave the job that I had and not work for anybody else, I decided, a friend of mine came to me. She was actually not a friend. She was someone who was looking for a home, and my home was available. So I interview her, do her background check, everything, decided to offer her the home as a single family home. And she said, I really don't want to live in a home. I want to open up a adult family home. And I said, well, what is that? So she explained to me what you would do. You would get people from the state with different mental health issues, people who are fragile, that cannot live in their homes, and they would stay in this home. She would run it, and she would have nurses, CNAs, certified nursing assistant coming and work with them. If they can't cook, they would cook for them. They would clean. They would pretty much live there 24/7. And it would be a facility, 24/7 facility. So I said, that's interesting. So I let her have the home. And at that time, we had just built our home in Racine. We had moved to Wisconsin. So I said, okay. My husband was on the road a lot. So I said, I got to find me something to do. He didn't want me to work anymore. And so I said, I can't do this. I got to find me something to do. So we bought another house and we built it. We bought the land and we built it. So I took the house that we were selling and I turned that into an adult family home. And with that, I turned 2 or 3 more houses. So I had like around 4 houses that I was doing the same thing. The person, my renter, was doing, my tenant. So that's how I got started. And as of today, I'm still doing that, but I'm down to 1 home because of COVID. I was having a hard time finding people to work for me as a nursing assistant, because right now, a lot of people, you know what the market is like. A lot of people do not want to work.
Very true.
And I don't want to be in there all day, every day, 7 days a week. I'm on call right now, but I'm working from home now. And only if there's an emergency that they call me, and pretty much we do Zoom, or if I need to take them into their doctor's appointment, or if they have something happen to them and I need to go in and talk to them, then I will do that. But right now, my full-time job, which I love, is playing options in the stock market. So that's what I'm doing. That's my second job.
It came full circle for that.
It did.
How about that?
Yeah. So all this thing that, I thought of and dream of, and consciously, subconsciously was behind in my mind. But these were all the things I wanted to do, but really didn't know that I wanted to do it. It's like the road opened up and I was showing the way, and I'm enjoying it.
Wow.
And that's what it's all about. It's really, I wanted a job that I could, or do something that I can really enjoy. And that's what I'm doing now. Yeah. I still have a few homes, but it's not as fast. It's a little slower, and I'm enjoying it. I get the opportunity now to do what I want to do.
Wow. The one thing I love about this podcast is I can get to learn so much about people, especially relative. I mean, I promise you, I did not know how storied your life has been up until this point. And the one takeaway that I have is just the incredible drive that you had ever since, even before you got here. You already knew that you were going to be somebody. You were going to do something regardless of what got in your way, whether it was a language barrier when you first arrived, or, you know, being a part of something you weren't really passionate about until you found out where you are now is where you want to be. It takes so much, it takes so much, it takes guts. Honestly, it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of insight. It takes a lot of risk to get to that point. Where would you say you got that drive from? When did you sit down and say, "Oh, this is, I want to write the own story of my own life instead of having other people write it for me"?
I think from my ancestors, from my grandparents, from my mom, from my dad. I've never seen my parents without a job.
Mhm,
We never want for anything, but we didn't have a lot.
mhm,
But we never want. So it was, if we need something, it was there. And my grandfather, who he was always in the court. I'm not sure if he was an attorney or whatever. And my mom was a nurse. So the humanitarian came from her,
mhm,
and not being afraid to do anything. It's like, if any of us wanted to do anything, she never said, "Oh, no, you can't do that,"
mhm,
or "That's not for you." It was like, okay, so what are you gonna do? You know, you want to go here, you want to do this, you have it, but you gotta do it on your own. She pretty much taught us how to stand on our own 2 feet and not to be afraid, no matter what it was. So give thanks to my mom and the
yeah,
ancestors.
absolutely. I always thank the ancestors. I think that is, it's really incredible, honestly, because, you know, I can try to put myself in those shoes, coming from somewhere, from my home to a place I've never been before, and then having not just the drive, but the courage to be able to understand and push through any of the obstacles that I may have. I think it takes so much courage to do that. And I think, especially in today's world where a lot of people are really searching for what they want to do or who they want to become, I think there is a lack of action there. And on your end, I didn't see that at all. In fact, I saw I'm going to take action before I even know everything about what I need to do, whether it's options, whether it's opening your own business, real estate, forensics. You said, I'm going to do this. This is the path. I'm going to get in it. And even if when I get there, it isn't necessarily the thing that I thought it was going to be, at least I tried. At least I gave it my all. At least I pushed into it. And I think that's absolutely incredible.
Yes, yes, it is. And you can go anywhere and live.
Hmm.
You can move to any state, because once you have that drive, that you're not focused, but there's other opportunity avenues open to you. If I had moved to a place where there was no lab, where I can work in a hospital, at least I know I have computer. It was just so many things that were open to me that I can do, that I never limit myself.
Hmm. That's very true. And I think that's another aspect of it too. Because you weren't limiting yourself, you were opening, you were honestly opening doors for yourself. I mean, even when the computer came around or technology started to boom, you were already on the front end of that. Even if you didn't know exactly how to work that particular instrument machine, you you made it your mission to understand it to the point where you could teach others about it. And I think that's very commendable. And going back to that fear concept, I mean, you did mention that you used to work with bodies in order to see, okay, what happened to this person. And I can only assume, working in that field for so long, do you think you became numb to seeing people who have passed on? I guess it's from a different perspective because they're already gone, but you're trying to solve the mystery as to why they got to this point. Do you feel as though when you see a body, do you connect emotionally with what this person used to be or who this person used to be, or is it more of a job that you
It's
have?
someone who has passed on,
Yes.
their body. Okay. Um, when I was younger, and what I am today, I look at it in two different ways. Younger was out of curiosity. Today, if I look at a dead body, I know that that's just the shell, that the soul spirit has moved on, that they are still living, even though that shell is there. And that's the way I look at it. And with that, especially if you're there when that person is making that transition, and what they're saying to you, you realize that their life will continue, not in the physical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But their life will continue. And when we look at that body, it's almost like looking at a car and you're in it driving. When you get out of that car is still there, but you're continuing. That's how I look at it.
That is a very unique perspective. I never thought of it in that sense, but I do get that sometimes, at least personally for me. Like there are times when I wake up, I look in the mirror and I look at myself. I'm like, who am I truly? I see this vessel that I guess my spirit is in, but outside of that, like who am I? Where do I belong? What am I doing here? Is what I'm seeing truly who I am? I think that's a pretty interesting conversation to have with yourself.
Yes, and by doing that, you're asking the universe, why am I here? What's my purpose? And that helps you to propel, to live the life that you came here to live, I guess.
So, I mean, if I had to say, reflecting back on your journey that you shared with us, first, thank you. Very riveting. You've lived so many lifetimes in this one. You've experienced so much just from what you shared. And I want to commend you, because I believe it's very admirable of you to manage to pursue your education full time, be a parent full time, a spouse full time, and to persevere and not forget you in the process. I think that's so important that a lot of the times that is kind of lost along the way. And I would imagine even beforehand and now where this is more of a focus, it seems to be, but even during those times of you going through those journeys and those career transitions for yourself and your spouse and still managing to carve out that time for you. If you had to share that process of it and perspective of like, what tips and tools could you provide to others who may be currently in that sort of circumstance of life and trying to figure out, may not even be aware that's what's happening, and you know, they have those moments where they're kind of feeling the effects of it, because we all do. What kept you going? Like, what was those key factors for you?
I saw myself wanted more. I didn't see roadblocks. I didn't see doors that are closed. I was always, as actually my family, my siblings called me a dreamer, because I used to dream a lot and say, I want that, or I'm gonna do that, or I'm gonna become that. So they used to call me the dreamer, but I did not see it as a dreamer. I saw I wanted that, and if I want that, I gotta work. I know how to get to it, and I know what to do to get there. So dream, I would say to someone, dream, and don't let anyone take your dream.
Wow, that's powerful. Wow, yeah, and you manifested what it is that you wanted, and you were determined, and consistency is what I'm hearing a lot of that. And we talk about that a lot on Achromous podcast, and being able to hear it and just understanding, I guess, trying to understand exactly just those steps and believing in yourself, because I believe that a lot of it came from that. You believed in yourself is where I've hit from the very beginning of venturing to a whole another place, being relocating across the world to pursue the dream, right? Because this is the land of opportunity but you have to apply yourself. And I feel as though what you shared, in one of my opinions, is probably some of the best examples of what that consists of, and being able to pursue anything that your heart desires if you're committed to yourself, and then taking action to do so. So that's wonderful to hear. What's your take on it, Jay?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think along this journey, it's crazy to see how much you can do in such a short lifespan, because we're only here for just a few years, and to be able to pack it with so many things that are purpose driven. And I think that's the other aspect too, right? Doctor, there was no wasted motion in your life. Each and everything you said, all right, I'm growing here. I want to climb here. I want to do this. And then actually going out and doing it. I think it's beyond commendable, especially about where we are. I know we've had different episodes about social media and where society is now, and how the workplace is sort of transformed in these past couple of years. I think that work ethic, it's starting to become underrated. But I think hearing your story, especially our community out there who's listening now, you have to understand that it takes a long time. It takes work. It takes tireless work, regardless of who is around you. You have a family you were raising. You have a spouse. You have a home that you're building. You're also building a life for yourself as well. So doing all of that and then being able to accomplish those things is just absolutely commendable.
Yes, yes. You got to see it. You got to want it. You can dream, but you have to put in the work.
Got to put in the work.
Yes.
I think that's the tagline in here. That's
in here.
You got to do the work. Yes, that is. Believe me. I mean, 83 episodes of this. We've had our doubts sometimes, but we know that we're doing great things by allowing others to tell their story to our community, because I think that is how everybody grows together. So I mean, that's very much appreciative. And the fact that you're doing this while you have kids, or while you're raising kids, we'll see. I know you have two beautiful kids of your own. I have godchildren. And I know you mentioned that you had the opportunity to work with children who were in very terrible situations. How were you able to do that and sort of disconnect what the stories that you may be hearing from these kids versus what is going on in your own life? I know they always say don't take work home. So I had to imagine there was some sort of separation that you had to have with these kids who were very vulnerable and in a very shaky state, that you had to be able to encourage them and help them along the way. Could you tell us about that?
But like you said, there is a separation. Once I leave that place, their home or the court or wherever I am, I leave it. I leave all that emotion right there. I detach myself. I do meditation. I do yoga, and that helps so that I'm able to leave those things behind, because I could not bring that into my environment, to my home, because I also at the time had my kids and grandkids. And that emotion I couldn't, because people, when you're in a room, for me, when I'm in a room, I can feel people's emotions. And knowing myself in that, I had to separate it. And even if when I leave their homes or the court and I sat in my car, I decompressed so that I'm not taking that burden, because it feels like rocks on your back. I'm not taking that with me. So I had to separate. And there was times too that I had to find someone to talk to get rid of, all those feelings. Because, even Psychologists need psychologists. Even psychologists needs counseling once in a while.
Right.
You know, so to decompress. So you do need to decompress. You need, again, to go within yourself and meditate and let go of, you know, all those energies that you've been around. That worked for me.
And if you don't mind, could you take us through what that meditation for you looks like, in case there might be somebody watching who's like, man, you know, I tried meditating in the past. I Googled it, you know, I watched some YouTube videos. It just did not work for me. But here's somebody who has been doing it and does this all the time to help go through some of the things that she's done. So what are some of the strategies, or maybe take us through what you do to meditate?
When people hear the word meditation, they think, oh, you got to be on top of a mountain in the quietest place, you know, no sound. But meditation is just you going within yourself. And I've learned now I can do meditation. I'm talking to you and I'm meditating.
Wow.
But that takes a lot of practice. And when I first started, it was I wouldn't say hard, but I wanted to get to that point of serenity where nothing bothers me right away. And you couldn't do that. It takes practice. So I become still, go within. And when I said go within, there's going to be noise passing like a cloud. You're sitting there, the cloud is passing. And that's how you see the thoughts coming to you. And that's how you look at it. A lot of people say, well, there's all these little chatters. Yeah, but if you look at it, I look at it as a cloud, sitting there looking at a cloud going by. So I'm not holding on to it. I'm acknowledging it and letting go. And once they go, you keep reminding yourself, okay, I'm getting still. I'm getting still. Some people do it with mantra.
Okay.
Some people speak it out loud while they're doing it. There's different ways, and you have to find a way that is good for you, that works with you. And I do walk-in meditation, you know, and that's just being aware of where you are, pretty much. Being aware that I'm sitting here talking to you, that's a form of meditation, because nothing else is coming into my mind at this time. So there's different ways.
Oh yeah, thank you for sharing that method. I think you're absolutely right, because even when I started doing that, you know, I personally did not know how to quiet my mind. I think in this life, so many things are happening. There's so many distractions around us even now, that sometimes it is a little difficult to just quiet those voices in your mind. But the way that you put it, by seeing that cloud pass, acknowledge what it is for what it is, and just accept it and move on. I think that is something that a lot of us, including myself, could learn in order to implement in terms of quieting our mind and being at one and getting centered. I think that's, with all the distractions that we have in this world now, I think that is difficult to do. But I know Dr. Sandra, you would suggest it as well. I would suggest it too. Be sure to meditate, be sure to find your quiet space, be sure to center yourself and just focus. I think there's so many distractions in this world today that it's very difficult to focus on one thing.
Yes, and it doesn't take, some people think it takes half an hour, an hour. You can take 5 minutes and just do breathing and just listening to your breath.
Yep.
And it would quiet you.
Yep.
So, you know, some people have an hour. If you have an hour, you can do it. But if you only have 5 minutes, it can work.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah, it's
Excellent.
Yeah, go ahead, Wilson.
Carving out that time. I think it's just like you said, just taking the time that you can to make for you. Like we say all the time, we have 24 hours in the day. You have to make some of that time about you. And it's wonderful of you to express the different methods that you can go about it. I focus a lot heavier on mantras and affirmations as a part of my method. But, you know, like you said, you learn the process of what works best for you, and you tune yourself into it, and you channel into it, and you learn more about yourself, and it helps prepare you for what you deal with, right? Like you said, the cloud and everything around you, because you're able to tune in if you know more about you, and you're better for it, and therefore you're better to others, and anything that you may face in your life. So a huge avid believer of that, and practice it. We all do, and as you can hear your listeners and see in our conversation, there's so many different variations of how you can go about it, but you can accomplish it if you give that time to yourself. So I agree completely.
100%. And you mentioned it is true. Both you, Dr. Lepinski, and we'll see, you mentioned that it is up to you to find what that is for you. And we talk about that with fitness as well, whether it's, physical or the mental side. It's important to find what fits for you, because it is about sustainability. It is about building upon what you started and getting to the end of that goal, whatever you decided that is the thing that you were going to focus solely on. It's important to make sure that it's sustainable and you are able to be consistent to get to where you want to be. And I know, Doctor, you are where you want to be right now. You've lived as Will C said, you lived many lives in one life, and there's still so much more to go. Could you let us know what's next for you, Doctor?
Oh, wow. My next chapter. I love to travel. So I'm doing a lot now, but because of COVID, all the different infectious diseases that are going around right now, it has put a damper, because I was in Portugal in May, I think, and went there for about 9 days. And while going over there on the plane, there probably was about 20% people wearing masks. And the next day after I arrived in Portugal, Lisbon, I was getting the symptoms. So I became positive and had to spend more time in Portugal before getting a negative results to be able to travel back. So I really don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna keep doing it. But that's my goal, just to travel, not to work, keep doing my stock, my options, and work from wherever I am.
That's amazing. And I think even with options, and I know we had some conversations about that. Forgive me, because I am still trying to learn my way around it. I've gotten distracted a few times, but it is something that I plan on dedicating time in order to learn a lot more about it. And I would say, just generally speaking, it is one of the more, stocks in general, I think investing in general is rather difficult for the general public, but options itself and understanding calls and puts and those sort of things, I think is rather difficult. How did you get into investing into options? How did you get into trading options?
Well, like I said before, when I was in high school, that's when my eyes was open to option. My math teacher was teaching me how to play the stock market. He never taught about option, but at that time it was interesting because I always wanted to learn, but it was like a different language to me. And slowly, I would say in the last maybe 7 to 8 years, maybe longer, I started to play the stock market. Long term, not short term, not short term. When COVID came, I had more time to sit at my computer at work. So I started learning. I started learning how to pick your stock, how to get in and out, how to make money while it's going up and down. And I said, oh, I like this. I always like money. So I'm playing and I'm seeing what I'm making. And then about, I think it was last fall, winter, I got into option. I started studying option. And I like that more than just playing the stock market. I still have my portfolio into different things because I have long-term, short-term, and I do swing trade. I also do day trade. But I like the option better because you make more money. And anything that makes more money,
Can't go wrong
there.
Can't go wrong with making more money. Yeah.
But one thing I'll say, you have to be, what's the word I want to say? Set your goals and your limit and stick with it. That's not the word, but that's what I mean. When you set your goal, okay, today I'm only going to make 500 or 1,000. And if it's the market is going up and you can make more, just stop because you could lose it all. So you have to set your goals and don't flip flop on it. Just stick with it.
That's some strong emotional intelligence there, because
Yes.
it then could become a gamble. I know a lot of people, at least in the crypto space, have lost quite a lot over these past months. So, shout out to those people. But I know that
I was one of those. I knew when to get out. I knew when to get out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's risky. And like I said, I know with all the things that you've done in your life has been some sort of element of risk. So I think in order to not just have the dreams, as you mentioned, but also accomplish the dreams that you have, I think you just have to understand that you are going to take or need to take calculated risks to get to where you want to be. So I definitely think that, at least for those who are watching and those who are listening, that is something that you can take away from this episode, is that regardless where you may be now, if you are focused on getting to your purpose, you have to understand that there are certain risks that are going to leave you uncomfortable. There are going to be certain things you're going to have to sacrifice in order to get to where you want to be. And that's just the name of the game. There might be certain wins that you get, and there are going to be certain lessons that you learn along the way. But it's important to take note of both, stay humble, keep your eyes focused on those goals and those dreams, and then work hard to accomplish them.
Yes, that is so true. And when I was in undergrad, I met a wise old man. It's when I was in South Africa. And he said to me, not only to forgive, which is totally what we are talking about with everything, but also always set your goal and go for it. And that was Mandela. Yeah, I sat at his feet.
Wow.
After we had breakfast. Yeah, and when I met him, because I was teaching also in South Africa.
Yeah.
For 4 years, I teach in the summertime. And every time I was meet up with him. And the very first time I met him, I sat on his feet and I looked at him and I was totally speechless. And I'm not a person that would speak, that, has a loss for words. And that happened to me. But I said to him, talk, and I listened. And that's exactly what I did. And he gave me so much nuggets that also helped my career path.
That is incredible.
I'm speechless.
Yeah, sometimes it's definitely who you meet, who you know who can change the trajectory of your life, especially somebody who's impactful in our world and our entire lifespan as Nelson Mandela. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, look, Doctor, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on this Achromous podcast, episode 83. And before we go, of course, we want to be able to make sure that you are connected with our community, as you are now officially a part of the Achromous podcast community. How can our audience, our community find you online or find you in general?
What am I on? Instagram, and I think I had sent you my Instagram. I don't know it offhand.
Sure.
And through my emails, you can share my email with anyone, because I have filters. It would filter to people who shouldn't be there, but Instagram and through my email. And I'm in the process of setting up a YouTube to do meditation, teach meditation. I did started it and then I stopped during COVID, but that's on my horizon.
Awesome. We'll be sure to, whenever you do get that up, we got to make sure that our subscribers subscribe to yours as well. So we're all a growing community. Absolutely. Once again, we want to thank you for joining the Achromous podcast, episode 83. We want to thank the community out there for listening or watching this incredibly inspiring podcast episode. So wherever you are this Sunday or any other day throughout the week, we thank you for joining us, whether you were able to listen on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. We want to thank you. For those who are watching on YouTube, we also want to thank you. It means you're looking at us. And if you did not do this before this episode, I can only guarantee you were anxious to press it now because you do not want to miss the gems that you've heard tonight from Dr. Sandra Lepinski. But just in case you do not understand or you do not know how to spell out what we do, I will help you out. Once again, Achromous. As I mentioned, you can find us anywhere you can hear podcasts or even see this. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. So the very next time you hop on YouTube, you're watching episode 83 and you're jotting down all these gems that the doctor is spitting out to you. Make sure that you implement it in your life because action is important. And most of all, we'll see.
It is free to do so.
That is ridiculous, man.
To invest into you. There's not many things you could say are free in life, but this is one of those times where you have so much that was available to you free. So embrace it, dissect it, digest it, and grow. And challenge yourself. That's what I would say. That's a great takeaway from this. Remain consistent. Set that goal, realistic expectation, and then go for it. Only one that's stopping you is yourself, as I took away today. So please do those things, guys. It's free to get our gems that we drop each and every week. We're going to continue to deliver to you consistently, but we need to know that you're actually receiving that and that you're actually going to be taking affirmative action to do these things, such as liking our content, subscribing it, turning on your notification bell, and then sharing those gems. Don't keep it to yourself. Each one, teach one. And that's what we're here to do. So be a part of that journey and movement and let us know that you appreciate what we're giving to you by doing those things.
100%. And once again, Dr. Sandra Lepinski, we want to thank you for joining us on episode 83 of the Achromous podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the rest of the week. And until next Sunday, it is your boy, J.H. Gibbons.
And we'll see.
Hey.